welcome Gena Showalter. Hi, Gena.
Hi, it's so good to be here.
Yeah, we're here to talk about the kingdom of tomorrow, and I understand that that's yes, and I understand that that's your explosive new romantasy series, the Book of Arden. Is that right?
Correct, yes. Yes.
This is book number what? I mean,
Uh,
100, 100?
all of my books, yeah, I think I've published over 100 and I don't have the exact number, but yes, my guess is a little over 100.
That's incredible. That is just incredible.
Thank you.
Before we talk about all of that, I'd like to learn a little bit more about Kingdom of Tomorrow. What's the book about? Who's Arden Rusa and the High Prince Cyrus?
Okay, yeah. Well, do you want me to tell you how I came up with the idea or give you tell you just jump into
You
what it
can do that. Yeah, that's a later question, but that's fine. You go
Okay.
right ahead.
Okay. Well, I was just sitting in my bedroom one day and I had this flash in my head, and all of my book ideas have come to me as just a grain of an idea and then have grown from there. But in this flash, I saw these two worlds instantly fused together. And it was like when you have two pages, one is transparent and it's got images on it, and you lay it over another and it changes both images completely. And that's how I saw this fusion of these two worlds. And so when they became each a half of the other, they had all of these cracks, and I saw this giant rock wall grow in between those cracks. And so from there, I needed the characters and the plot.
Okay. I'm intrigued about the story that it's the outlawed tome society
Yes,
guarding an invisible library that
yes,
can foretell the future.
yes.
Um, and I was going to ask you how did what what inspired you to think about the invisible library?
Well, so as I began to develop the idea, I began to realize what this giant rock wall, which they call the rock, what it is. And it is this doorway into the library that is so forbidden and so feared, whispered about, and nobody knows if it's real or just how dangerous it is. But from there, I was able, well, what kind of books does this library have? And it just all grew from my love of scripture, honestly, and biblical principles. So I got to weave that.
I wonder, we have a very real and controversial book ban going on these days, and I wondered if maybe that sort of thought crept into your mind as you were writing
About book
about
bans.
the current book bans going on.
Yeah, there are, forbidden books, and how some are everybody is so subjective. Like what one person loves, another will hate. What one person just the subjectivity of it all, and the different books, and what you would do if you did find a book about your life, and would you read it? Would you want to make changes? Would you try?
What is cured, the group cured versus the group tome society? What is the chief conflict between the two of them?
So they're both, and what the people do not know yet, that the citizens, that there's hints throughout the book, is that there is something supernatural behind each group, cured versus the tomb society. And you'll come to find out that they are ancient enemies, and they have been involved in this war for centuries. And so they are fighting basically for the souls of the people, growing their armies so that when the ultimate war happens, there will be a clear winner.
Ooh, okay. And so what is so important about the Tome Society protecting the invisible library?
Well, they talk about in the how if Cured can get change the stories that are in the Tomb Society that is written about the future, that is how they can win the war. So they are fighting to change these stories that, and they have not been able to succeed yet.
I love your idea, their land and our land. I think that's
Yes. You know, those two world names went through, they were changed as I was writing the book, and I nothing felt right until I got to Ireland and their land. And it's because, well, how would people have reacted if suddenly their world fused with another, and you would begin to see it, this is our land and this is their land. And so that is where that came from.
And so they get into a lot of trouble if they don't read the books, right?
Yes, yes, they do, because Cured has all of these traps, and they have books of their own that have futures, and so they want their future to be the way that it goes, and not this way. So,
And how is Arden betrayed in the kingdom? What does she learn about stealing and lying?
yeah, she has to come to the realization and face this hard truth that everything she has believed about her life has been a lie. And I have talked a little bit online about how her story kind of parallels mine. And I didn't
Yes.
actually realize that until after I had written the book. But where she just comes to this moment where it's you either finally admit that you have been living this lie, and that everything is not okay, so that you realize you're broken and to move on, and you have to rebuild, or you insulate yourself with the lie that everything is okay. And so yes, so she had to face that moment where yes, it's a lie, and where do I go from here?
Well, turning to your craft, Lord of the Underworld, one of your many series, has a following of like more than 500,000 readers. Why do you think these stories resonate so with such a large audience?
I think the paranormal always has that there is something beyond the natural, that those kind of supernatural things are possible. Everything is possible in these worlds, and
Mm.
there's something fascinating about that, where you're not just, you don't have to be stuck where you are. There is help. There is a way to move forward.
I like that. Um, how and why did you become a writer, and how many times were you rejected before publication?
Oh my goodness, I was rejected so many times. But so I had married my high school sweetheart, and we had two kids. And so I stayed home with them. And really, the only thing I could see myself doing at that time was writing. Had been an avid reader, and I had begun rewriting the stories in my head. And then I started having my own ideas. And then that dream came of, oh my goodness, I could write a book and it could be published. And so from that point on, there was an obsession to, this dream is happening. There will be fruit from this dream. And so I just kept writing and writing. I wrote 7 books before I sold one, but I learned something from all of them. And they were rejected all over the place. But they were learning experiences, so I cannot regret that.
And so rejected over and over, huh?
Yes.
So as a New York Times bestselling author and a USA Today bestselling author, how do you deal with criticism? Because I'm sure you
Yes,
get some.
yes, I've had quite a bit over the years. And in the beginning, it really was devastating. I don't know if I was prepared for it, if I had the that thick skin yet, but that is something I think that becomes a requirement to develop.
That's
When
right.
this is your career, if you want to mentally and emotionally survive, you just have to get to a point where you realize that you cannot please everybody. Like I said, it is so subjective. And one thing that helped me was I actually went to sites and I read the bad reviews of books that I had loved. So I got to see these people who hated books that I had just devoured and treasured. And that is when it really, a light dawned that you cannot please everybody. All you can do is write a story that you yourself, I apologize for that. All you can do is write a story that you yourself love and that you want to read, and hope there's a readership out there.
I'm very interested in that you use an awful lot of dialogue throughout the book, and I really personally love that. But how do you keep the balance between introspection and action? Um,
I do. It's not something I consciously do while I'm writing, but it when I go back and read, if something is like, wait, this is so narrative heavy. It's a little. I'm wanting to skip over it. My eyes are just wanting to jump on to the next. I'll go and look at, well, what kind of conversation could take place here, and just start dissecting the scene to see if something's missing, why the narrative isn't working, that kind of thing. So it's.
and how in the world have you written this many books in this period of time? And I know that you already you co-wrote a book about how to write in a year, a book a year.
Yes, I wrote that with my best friend, Jill Monroe. She's also an author, and we've written some books together, which has been a fantastic experience.
Oh, that's
Um,
great.
yeah, but writing that many books in the beginning, it was an obsession, really. Just once I started, I could not stop until I got to the end. And so I was just constantly flowing out of me. And I would never take breaks. I didn't do holidays. I didn't do vacations. It was working 7 days a week all year long. I have since stopped that schedule. So now I like to take a day off. I don't push myself to write for writing's sake, but I write what I'm passionate about and what I love, and
I
go.
mean, how many words a day, how many hours a day do you spend writing?
It has varied. An average has been about 2,000 words a day, which my chapters usually run about 2 to 3, sometimes a little more than that. But my goal is a chapter a day, and that has taken an hour to all day long and into the night. So
I love that. I love your honesty. How many times do you edit before you send it to the publisher?
So I will write the rough draft from start to finish. Then from there, now I see the whole story, all of the bones of it, figure out what is missing, where I went, if I went wrong, what needs to be fixed. So then I'll go through it again, taking care of all of that, adding scenes as needed, taking out things that are needed. Then I read it again. And in between those, from my second read, I like to have Jill Monroe read it as well. She's very honest and has helped me tremendously. Like, no, you've missed it here. Really think about this, add emotion, that kind of thing. So I'll read it at least 3 times before I'll send it to an editor.
And how did you get your publisher originally? I mean, your agent, excuse me.
Oh,
How
yeah.
did you find your agent?
Yeah, I was, this was before I had published, before I had gotten a book deal. I read dedications of authors that I loved. And Deidre Knight was mentioned in a couple of them. And so she became a dream agent. And so as I would write a book, I would send them out. And I sent her my 6th book, and she signed me with that book. And then we had trouble finding a home for it. And so I wrote the 7th book, and that's the one that she sold. And then we went back and sold them the 6th one as well. So
did you ever think that you wanted to quit?
yes, there was a time, and I had signed with her, and a publisher came and said, we want to buy the 6th book that I had written. And I was so excited. I told everybody, I've got a publishing deal. I'm going to be a published author. And then they came back like 3 days later and said, no, we've changed our mind.
Oh,
And
no.
oh my gosh, the devastation. I cried so much. And it was 2 years after that before I sold that 7th.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that was a battle. But looking back, I'm so glad that things worked out the way they did, because when Harlequin, which was my first publisher, they were launching a brand new romance line, and I got to be part of the launch. So I got to promotion that I wouldn't have got.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
What are your ideas on self-publishing, and what are your ideas about AI?
I love self-publishing. I self-publish some of my books, and Jill and I self-publish our Kings of Fury series. We did a cozy mystery series. I have done a paranormal Wizard of Oz retelling so I am really big on self-publishing. I think it can be so wonderful. And I'm not too up to date on AI. I've kind of been in my so if there's some kind of big if there's some kind of big kerfuffle out there, I've been in my writing cave.
That's great. That's great. Your creative cage. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Well, any advice that you have for writers trying to break into this tough market?
I would say one thing that I learned while writing, and it took a couple years to learn this, is that just because somebody offers you an editorial suggestion on your book, that doesn't always mean that is right for the book, that it's going to make it better, that you have to learn what is better for the book and what is simply someone's opinion. And also that treat writing like, treat writing like a business, and write even when you don't want to, because there's going to come a point, if you sell, you're going to have deadlines. So learn to work within a deadline. It will help you.
Okay. Okay. And what would you like for people to take away from Kingdom of Tomorrow?
Oh, goodness. Wow. I would like them to walk away thinking this was a wild ride, and that maybe sighing dreamily that maybe there is an invisible library out there. Maybe about the what ifs and the what could be, and how if a story was written of their life, what would the next 5 years show? What do they want the ending to show? Kind of like a vision board for their life. What are their dreams? Maybe they can start working towards those. So that's how, when I finished it, it was like a vision board for myself as well. How do I want my life to go?
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, Gena, you are a delight, and we wish you very well. Thank you very much for joining us
It
today.
was an honor. Thank you for inviting me.